we have a calendar, obviously, that the public sees too, where we start that review process and the budget's presented to us. But it truly is year-round work, not just for commissioners, but for staff as well.
The City of Hays approves its 2026 budget. I'm Becky Kiser, Hays Post Eagle Radio News reporter, and I'm talking with City Commissioner Alaina Cunningham and City Manager Toby Dougherty on this episode of the Hays Post podcast.
It was great news for all of us, not just as commissioners, but as citizens. We had asked staff to give us a conservative budget this year, and they had done that. And then we had challenged them at the last review of the budget and kind of asked a lot of questions. What would it take to be revenue neutral? What would that cost us? Is that possible? And staff worked really hard, dove into that. And they also... Well, I shouldn't say the staff, but all of us benefited that we've got a really good bond rate that came in, and that's what allowed us to drop that and stay revenue neutral. So it was good news.
Yes, and so Toby, this was about $200,000 with amounting to information coming out of the bond and interest area, and then also the fact that the city does have such a great credit rating.
Yeah, if you remember 2 weeks ago, the City Commission approved a slate of loans, basically, bonds, and we had several different bond sales and then a sale of temporary notes for various projects around. And so when we had prepared the budget for 2025, we had assumed we'd be a little further along in the Exit 161 infrastructure, and so we anticipated a different type of payment structure for that. We also anticipated a higher interest rate. So when we moved to temporary notes, and then you may recall the temporary note received a very, very favorable interest rate. And then you couple that with the other bond sales that also had favorable interest rates. So what the temp note for the 161 infrastructure did is it freed up that essentially $200,000 in the 25 budget to carry over to 26, which allowed the governing body to achieve revenue neutral this year. But the other favorable interest rates, when we did our forecasting, it allowed us to not worry about future bond and interest payments, by taking that $200,000 out to achieve revenue neutral. So all in all, good news. It was kind of a last minute calculation after we got the bonds, put everything in the forecast, and then ran it out. But I'm glad they passed it.
And Alaina, the commissioners were very adamant in congratulating and thanking the work that goes into this, from Finance Director Kim Rupp and then Colin Belzer, who of course does a lot of the heavy lifting for this. Department heads and staff all together really brought this budget to you and for your final approval.
Yes, we say it's Mayor Jacobs' favorite word, but it's collaboration, and she is correct when she uses it. Those department heads work really hard to look through their budget, see what's needed, what has to be done, what's excess, and they were able to really bring Colin great figures, and then he was able to work with them and put it all together. We're just fortunate to have such great staff in our city. And then, it does also go back to past commissioners who have set that precedence to save money and pay cash for projects.
The mill levy is again going to be at 25 even, and it's been a long time that mill levy has been at 25 consecutive years.
Yeah, 17 consecutive years, and we'll actually be just below it this year at that 24.382.
Just below, right.
So, yeah.
Good news. At what point do the commissioners, Alaina, have the opportunity for their input? This is, work on this basically year round.
Yeah, it truly is year-round work. We have the retreat each year, so that lets us discuss and look at those future projects that extend further out than just 1 year, so that we can have a nice plan for multiple years. Let staff prepare when they're looking at numbers that way. And then, we have a calendar, obviously, that the public sees too, where we start that review process and the budget's presented to us. But it truly is year-round work, not just for commissioners, but for staff as well. So,
Toby, another thing that was pointed out is that is a positive for the city is that we use cash a lot to pay for big projects, and not every city can say that.
No, not every city can, and that is the luxury we're afforded by having the sales tax support the general fund. I think there was a question last night when Colin was showing the property tax levy comparison and the sales tax levy comparisons about other cities that do this. And most other cities, I think almost every other city in Kansas, what we can consider peer or larger, they utilize a general fund sales tax in addition maybe to some sale. They use a general fund property tax in addition to sales tax. When you levy a property tax for an endeavor, the laws are a little bit different on how much money you can have as a cash carryover, how much you can just sock away in the bank, because the state doesn't want an entity levying way more than they need and then it's put in the bank for no reason whatsoever. But when you have a sales tax, you can bring in a little extra and put that money in the bank. And then what the city commission does is use that for cash to pay for street projects. We were going through the list last night, 22nd Street, 32nd, 33rd Street that just got completed, 27th here, Vine Street, they did South Vine was a cash project, Allen Street, 8th Street. These are all projects the city commission's paid cash for, which saves bonding cost, it saves interest cost. So all in all, it's a more efficient way to do it.
And Alaina, one thing I think Mayor Jacobs pointed out that, and you just kind of touched on this, that you're doing this every year, but you're looking way down the road, 10 and 20 years out on it, especially when it comes to capital improvement projects, things that need to be done, things you'd like to do.
Yeah, that's correct. It wouldn't be a good process if we were only looking year to year, because those projects do cost a lot. So yes, you want to save up, especially if we're going to pay cash for them, and to plan appropriately. So yeah, the outlook is 5, 10, 15, and 20 years. And it's a great process.
Okay, well, let's talk about a couple other things that occurred last night. There were 3, Alaina, general nuisance abatements, a couple of them with inoperable vehicles there, which the city discussed last week and did go ahead and pass. And as the ordinance reads, or the resolution for these, that there will be can be action taken. I guess that would be the operative word, can be action taken 10 days after the approval date. The commissioners it's not your favorite thing to do, and you're always looking for help from the property owners. And in fact, a lot of times this kind of gets them over the hurdle and they start working on it. But it is out there to protect the public health and safety.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, none of us like to have to pick things up and be in front of the commission like that, but they are a nuisance. And yes, the city staff works really hard to work with those property owners and not just go in on day 10 and immediately remove it. They'll keep working with them. And as long as they're showing progress with removing the items, then they won't take action. But this allows them that if they can get no help from the property owner, they can go in and take action.
Does that happen very often, Toby?
Do we have to take action?
Yes.
It's a very small percentage. I would put it less than 5%. I would say probably less than 5% come to the city commission. And of the ones that come to the city commission, maybe 25% do we actually have to take action on.
I was thinking somebody mentioned weeds last night, and I thought, ooh, I've got a patch in my backyard. But then I do have a fence. And
what's your address?
Yeah, hopefully my next door neighbors aren't too concerned about it. But it's like, I probably better do that this weekend and get the weeds out of there, too. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Alaina, when the add-on comments came towards the end of the meeting, you reminded everybody about the event tomorrow morning, Pedal in the Park. And this is something that you, and I know Mayor Jacobs especially, have talked about over the last few weeks, an event to help educate the public, parents and kids, about wheels, whatever kind the kids are using, safety measures. And we're seeing a lot more scooters on the street now and sidewalks, and there are concerns about, doing that safely, and we want to educate them.
Yeah, the police department is putting on this event tomorrow at Abel Bickel, 11 to 2, and it's going to be great to help educate not only the kids, but the parents as well, try to implement some safety procedures. And it's a great mode of transportation. We've got not only bicycles now, we've got a lot of scooters, electric scooters, even electric bicycles. And so it would be great if the public could get out, just kind of review those safety factors. We've seen some cities are taking action and creating ordinances to put in place for violation if you're not abiding by the law with scooters and bicycles. we're trying to avoid that. We would just like to educate the public, have everybody operate them safely, and hopefully then keep the kids safe. The last thing we would want to see is an accident in our community.
Absolutely. Toby, the laws regarding operation those is basically you are to obey the rules that you would be if you were driving a vehicle.
Right. Just like bicycles, you have to follow the rules of the road, and that's set by state statute. And part of the problem is a lot of the kids you see driving around really, aside from not paying attention, a lot of them don't follow the rules of the road. And so when you're exposed on a scooter like that, it's doubly dangerous for you if you're struck by another vehicle.
Well, we hope that we get lots of people attending that. I know when the Protect and Serve segments are on and the police are here, they talk about it, especially right before school starts, and to also warn drivers to be on the lookout for kids on vehicle or on whatever kind of apparatus they're riding, because a lot of times they're their minds are on something else.
Absolutely, drivers need to be just as aware. Stay off your cell phone. Watching out for those kids, because they are kids. They'll make mistakes. So we want to keep everybody safe.